Many top directors passed on this film, and the lead actors had to be personally persuaded by Steven Spielberg. However, it ultimately became a worldwide hit, launching a beloved franchise that's still rewatched by fans across generations.
Okay, let's get going.
Movies Inside Out presents Men in Black is a 1997 sci-fi action comedy directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, following secret agents who monitor alien activities on Earth. In this video, we'll explore some intriguing behind-the-scenes details, including why animal rights activists were present on set, why the director was initially hesitant to work with Tommy Lee Jones, and how the team managed to alter the plot of an already completed film. Get comfortable, and let's dive in. The creation story. The story of Men in Black began in 1992 when producers Walter F. Parks and Laurie MacDonald acquired the rights to adapt Lowell Cunningham's comic of the same name, which was not particularly popular among readers, even in the United States. At the same time, they hired Ed Solomon to write the screenplay and began the search for a director. Parks and MacDonald initially approached Barry Sonnenfeld, who had recently directed the successful dark comedy The Addams Family, but he was occupied with the film Get Shorty. They then turned to Les Mayfield, known for his 1994 remake of Miracle on 34th Street. Mayfield accepted, but was soon forced to leave the project. The producers then offered the director's chair to John Landis and even Quentin Tarantino, but both declined, and production of Men in Black was shelved for the time being. Interestingly, Landis turned down the offer because he felt the film was too similar to his own The Blues Brothers, a decision he later regretted. By this time, Sonnenfeld had finished Get Shorty and was ready to take on a new project. Steven Spielberg also considered directing, but ultimately opted to take on the role of executive producer instead. Alongside Parks, MacDonald, and Spielberg's company, Amblin Entertainment, Columbia Pictures, a division of Sony Pictures, joined the film's production. In Solomon's initial draft, the story was set entirely underground, with locations that ranged from Kansas to Washington, D.C. and Nevada. Sonnenfeld thought it would make more sense for aliens to hide in a big city and chose New York, believing its residents would be more unfazed by the strange behavior of extraterrestrial guests. He described the film as the French Connection with aliens and noted that many of New York's architectural structures resembled flying saucers and spaceships. Interestingly, the original Men in Black comic was much darker and more serious than the film adaptation. In the comic, the agents dealt not only with extraterrestrial life, but also paranormal and supernatural activity on Earth. They had the authority to maintain secrecy by any means necessary, including eliminating witnesses, and they even pursued a secret agenda to manipulate and reshape the world as they saw fit. Casting. For the role of Kevin Brown, also known as Agent K, the studio initially wanted Clint Eastwood, but he declined. Steven Spielberg then suggested Tommy Lee Jones, who agreed only after Spielberg promised to improve the script, as Jones felt the first draft didn't capture the tone of the comic. Interestingly, director Barry Sonnenfeld was initially apprehensive about working with Jones, having heard about the actor's difficult personality from colleagues.
Look, I'm sorry, not to change the subject or anything, but when was the last time you had a CAT scan?
About 6 months ago, it's company policy.
Right, you should make another appointment.
To his surprise, they hit it off right away. Will Smith was chosen for the role of James Darrell Edwards, aka Agent J, thanks to Sonnenfeld's wife, who was a fan of Smith's sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Sonnenfeld himself had enjoyed Smith's performance in 6 Degrees of Separation. However, the studio initially preferred Chris O'Donnell, and Spielberg even asked Sonnenfeld to take O'Donnell out to dinner to convince him to join. Sonnenfeld, however, ended up convincing O'Donnell that he could skip this project. David Schwimmer also passed on the role of Jay, opting to work on his own film Since You've Been Gone. Smith was hesitant to take on the role as well, since he'd recently starred in Independence Day and didn't want to appear in another alien-themed film. However, his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, persuaded him to reconsider. Like Jones, he ultimately agreed to sign on after meeting with Spielberg, confident in Spielberg's proven success as a producer. Amusingly, Smith didn't initially believe that Spielberg himself was on the phone when he called to discuss the project. To prepare for the role, Smith even attended a UFO conference in Las Vegas. The role of Edgar the Bug was initially offered to John Turturro and Bruce Campbell, but scheduling conflicts prevented both from joining. The part eventually went to Vincent D'Onofrio. Linda Fiorentino, who played Laurel Weaver Agent L, won her role in a poker game with Sonnenfeld. Her character's presence influenced certain aspects of the script. Initially, the plan was simply to erase her character's memory, but later they decided to make her Agent L instead. Among the aliens monitored by the Men in Black were many well-known faces, including Danny DeVito, Sylvester Stallone, Steven Spielberg, and even Barry Sonnenfeld himself, along with his daughter Chloe. For the character of Frank the Pug, they initially considered using 6 to 8 similar-looking dogs. However, one especially talented dog, Mushu, ended up performing in 90% of Frank's scenes. The filming process. Filming Men in Black began in March 1996 and continued through the end of July, with numerous adjustments made to the script along the way. For example, a scene in which Agent J chases a disguised alien was initially planned for Lincoln Center, but the New York Philharmonic demanded a fee for using their building, forcing director Barry Sonnenfeld to relocate the scene to the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum instead. One of the locations Sonnenfeld found most suitable for the film was the enormous ventilation tower of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, which connects Manhattan with Brooklyn. This tower was used as the exterior of the Men in Black headquarters. Meanwhile, the interior headquarters were designed and built at Sony's studio by production designer Bo Welch, who styled the set with a 1960s aesthetic, reflecting the era when the Men in Black organization was founded. Welch aimed to make the headquarters resemble an airport, as the agents manage extraterrestrial visitors.
You want to stay away from that guy. He's grouchy.
Drawing inspiration from Finnish architect Eero Saarinen, who designed a terminal at JFK International Airport. Vincent D'Onofrio spent up to 6 hours each day in the makeup chair. To give his character Edgar the appearance of a decaying corpse, the makeup team pulled his cheeks back and secured them, which limited his ability to blink. Both practical effects and CGI were used for scenes where his skin appears to stretch. Industrial Light and Magic handled the visual effects throughout the film. To prepare for his role, D'Onofrio studied insect behavior by watching documentaries, even creating an unusual walk for his character by wearing knee braces and taping his ankles to restrict movement. Interestingly, the team shot 15 takes of a scene where Edgar drinks sugar water, and by the end of the day, D'Onofrio was high on sugar, according to Sonnenfeld. The film used live trained cockroaches, whose safety was monitored by the American Humane Society. In scenes where Agent J crushes roaches, mustard packets were used as stand-ins, and at the end of filming, all insects were counted to ensure none were missing. Renowned special effects artist Rick Baker was brought on to create animatronic aliens. He described Men in Black as the most challenging project of his career due to the volume of sketches required. Both Sonnenfeld and Spielberg needed to approve alien designs, and their preferences often conflicted. Sonnenfeld wanted non-humanoid aliens, but later worried that audiences wouldn't know where to look if the creatures lacked recognizable eyes. As a result, Baker re-envisioned several of his designs. Baker also contributed creatively to the script. Initially, Agent J was supposed to discover aliens in a bar where a bartender lifted skin on his neck to reveal glowing light. Baker felt this was unrealistic and instead suggested a small alien hiding inside a human head. This idea was ultimately used in a different scene, where Jay encounters worm-like aliens in MIB headquarters. The small humanoid alien found inside Rosenberg's head was built in two sizes. A miniature puppet was used for mid-range shots, while a 3-meter-tall model with intricate details was created for close-ups, filmed against a blue screen, and composited into Rosenberg's head. Nicknamed Chucky by the crew, this was the first prop Will Smith encountered on set, and it made a strong impression, inspiring him for the role. A scene involving a flying ball wasn't in the original script. Sonnenfeld filmed test shots and presented them to producers, who approved additional funds to make this scene a reality. For a scene in the tunnel where agents drive on the ceiling, the crew built an 8 times smaller replica of the Queens Midtown Tunnel, a process that took about 4 months. The mini-tunnel, filled with tiny cars, was filmed separately from the actors, who were suspended upside down, and the footage was seamlessly combined in post-production. Costume designer Mary Vogt created the iconic black suits, drawing inspiration from Cary Grant's attire in North by Northwest, and took care to avoid too much similarity with the Blues Brothers. Tommy Lee Jones was frustrated at first that Sonnenfeld wouldn't allow him to do comedic takes, but the director insisted that Agent K should remain serious, as that contrast would make the comedy stronger. In fact, the line,
"It'd just be raining black people in New York,"
was an improvisation by Smith. The scene with Mexican immigrants was filmed on a set rather than on location, as the director feared the desert setting might delay the production schedule. Some scenes with the alien Mikey, who holds a Mexican man's head on a stick, featured one of Baker's assistants in a rubber suit, while others used CGI. Most of the lines in this scene were ad-libbed by Tommy Lee Jones to showcase his Spanish-speaking skills.
No hablas ni una palabra del español.
To make the alien Mikey explode dramatically, the team blew up a 25-gallon barrel filled with blue slime. Jones was unbothered by being drenched in slime, but Smith disliked it.
Interesting job you guys have.
The scene where Jay helps deliver an alien baby was filmed both on a set with a green screen and outdoors. The newborn alien was a highly detailed animatronic that moved realistically and even managed to vomit on Jay. For Tony Shalhoub's character, Jack Jeebs, they added cross eyes and crooked teeth to make him look unlikable. Sonnenfeld wanted Jeebs' voice to sound as unnatural as possible, so Shalhoub inhaled helium for the role.
You insensitive jerk!
You have any idea how much that stings?
Creating the animated shot where his head regenerates took about 7 months. As filming wrapped, Sonnenfeld decided the original ending, a philosophical debate between Jay and an animatronic bug, wasn't exciting enough. They scrapped Baker's original bug, which had taken over 8 months to build, and created a fully CGI version using 45 animation frames, costing an extra $4.5 million.
I'm sorry. Was that your auntie?
For the scene where the bug swallows Kay, Tommy Lee Jones had to immerse himself in a container filled with unappealing liquid gelatin. Meanwhile, Smith fought a rubber bug head on a stick that was used as a visual reference. After test screenings, Sonnenfeld realized the storyline was too complicated and simplified the plot involving the tiny galaxy. Initially, 2 Archilians at a restaurant were supposed to be representatives of warring races who could end a conflict that the bug wanted to prolong. Rather than reshooting, they took an unconventional approach by redubbing the restaurant scene dialogue in an alien language and adding new subtitles to create a different storyline. Similarly, new lines were written for Frank the Pug, as those scenes would undergo post-production adjustments anyway. In the DVD bonus features, Sonnenfeld jokingly advises other directors to include a talking dog in every film, as it makes rewrites much easier. A fun Easter egg for UFO enthusiasts can be found in the scene where Kay reassures Beatrice that she didn't see any aliens. He lists popular government explanations for paranormal sightings: swamp gas, weather balloons, pockets of heat, and the planet Venus. 2 soundtracks were released for the movie, one with original compositions by Danny Elfman, and another with songs inspired by the film, featuring Will Smith's original track Men in Black, based on the movie's plot. Movie mistakes and errors. Let's take a look at the many small continuity errors and slip-ups in Men in Black. At the beginning of the film, we hear a dragonfly buzzing, even though these insects don't actually make this sound. Agent K identifies an alien with a fake head that doesn't even have a neck. But moments before, the man had a visible neck and even part of his chest. In the same scene, a female immigrant looks directly into the camera. A tree catches fire and briefly burns brightly, but then suddenly dies down almost instantly. It's unlikely Edgar, who's carefully examining a crater, could miss spotting a huge cockroach. And it's odd that the bug later has human-like eyes, since the Edgar disguise shouldn't have any. When Edgar's wife adds sugar to his water, the base of the bowl reveals the Sony logo, a serial number, and a barcode on the prop. The bug pulls his head skin back tightly, warping his face, but in the next shot, his face is back to normal, with him simply holding on to his hair. In the same scene, his teeth are visible, which shouldn't be possible with just the skin pulled back. The address on the business card is initially below the logo, but shifts above it in the next shot. A table appears to move from the center of the room to the side between shots. James is wearing a t-shirt, but suddenly he's in a dress shirt when he grabs his shoes, only to switch back to the t-shirt in the next scene. Reflections show the Bugs van just arriving at the shop, yet it oddly appears to re-arrive in the next shot. Agent K's legs change positions between shots, and the chase scene is clearly sped up for effect. The word good in the cafe window is missing its first 2 letters when filmed from inside. The name tag on the cat Orion's collar is in different fonts in various scenes. When the bug exits the restaurant, he knocks down one passerby and threatens another, but after a change in camera angle, the second person disappears. Reggie's car appears to be stuck in traffic, although no other cars are around. Oddly, his wife only starts yelling when the camera cuts to her. Additionally, Reggie is supposedly trying to leave Manhattan, yet his car is pointed toward it. After getting paid by Kay, a newspaper vendor glances into the camera. The necks of 2 aliens don't show any signs of the holes the bug made, and one even has a visible pulse. It's also unclear how one alien managed to eat or drink in the restaurant with no mouth opening in his fake head. In the same scene, the weight scale needle changes positions between shots. When Edgar storms into the shop, his van outside has a smooth roof, despite previously being damaged and covered by a spaceship. Kay watches his girlfriend through a satellite positioned at an angle as though it were on Earth rather than in space. Also, satellites don't track moving objects so smoothly. In the projection of Orion's belt, the star Alnitak is spelled Alantak, and the stars are incorrectly positioned in a straight line, rather than at different distances from Earth. When Jay hits a wall, he knocks some boots onto the floor, but in the next shot, they're standing up again, only to be back on the floor afterward. The bug leaves a shotgun by a window, but when Jay arrives, it's suddenly gone. Laurel wears brown shoes when she steps on the gas, yet later at the spaceport, she's wearing different footwear. In the background, Kay types in an odd way, while steel structures sway unrealistically under human weight. Jay throws a rock at the bug, but it disappears mid-shot. Jay stands to Kay's left, but after a cut, he's suddenly on the right. After being covered in bug slime, Kay and Jay appear in the next scene with spotless, dry suits. The director claimed the suits were slime resistant, though this doesn't explain the clean hair and skin. In the newspaper, it says that player number 20 missed the ball, yet he actually wears number 23. Which mistake do you think is the most noticeable? Share in the comments. Deleted scenes. In Australia, Men in Black was slightly modified to achieve a more family-friendly PG rating, allowing children to watch the movie with parental supervision. For example, in the Australian version, the alien jumping off the roof doesn't crash to the ground but disintegrates in midair. The scenes where the bug stretches Edgar's skin over himself and kills the exterminator were shortened, and a shot of a dead waiter was removed entirely. The British release, also rated PG, had additional cuts to remove various curse words. At the end of the film, Agent J tells Agent L that basketball player Dennis Rodman is an alien. However, Rodman wasn't widely known outside the US, so in the German, Spanish, and French dubs, his character was replaced with Michael Jackson. Interestingly, the filmmakers had originally wanted Jackson to cameo as one of the undercover aliens being monitored by the agents. Jackson initially declined, though he eventually made a cameo in the sequel. Additionally, various extended and alternate versions of the film's scenes have surfaced online, including parts of the original English dialogue between the Arquillians. Worldwide recognition. Men in Black premiered on June 25, 1997, raking in over $51 million in its opening weekend, the third largest box office opening at the time, following Batman Forever and The Lost World, Jurassic Park. With a production budget of $90 million, the film went on to gross $250.6 million in the US and Canada, and $338.7 million internationally, reaching a worldwide total of $589.3 million. It became the second highest grossing film of 1997, right after Titanic, and held the title of Sony's top grossing film until Spider-Man came out in 2002. Check out our channel for a behind-the-scenes video on the making of Spider-Man. Despite impressive box office numbers, Sony's management claimed that Men in Black never turned a profit. This was due to Hollywood's accounting practices, which often allow studios to reduce tax and royalty costs tied to a film's net profits. Critics warmly praised Men in Black for its clever script, impressive set design, and charismatic leads, calling it an ideal summer blockbuster. However, some reviewers noted that the film's energy and originality waned midway through.
You don't like it? You can kiss my furry little butt.
For many of the cast, Men in Black became one of their most defining roles, and the leads received substantial paychecks. Tommy Lee Jones earned $7 million, while Will Smith earned $5 million. Barry Sonnenfeld's film was celebrated by numerous award bodies. It received Oscar nominations for Best Art Direction, Best Original Score, Comedy or Musical, and Best Makeup, ultimately winning the Oscar for Makeup. Men in Black also took home Saturn Awards for Best Science Fiction Film, Best Music, and Best Supporting Actor for Vincent D'Onofrio. Additionally, the MTV Movie Awards recognized the movie for Best Song and Best Fight, and the Satellite Awards granted it the title of Best Animated Film. Men in Black earned nominations from the Golden Globes for Best Comedy or Musical, BAFTA for Best Visual Effects, and the Grammys for Best Instrumental Composition for a Film. Just before the movie's release, over 30 companies launched a variety of licensed Men in Black merchandise. Galoob created figurines of the film's characters. Hamilton crafted a special line of watches, and Ray-Ban reported a threefold increase in sales for the sunglasses worn by the Men in Black, generating $5 million in revenue. Marvel released an official comic adaptation, several video games were developed, and the WB premiered an animated Men in Black series 3 months after the film's release. The film's long-awaited sequels didn't come out until 2002 and 2012, with a spin-off, Men in Black International, released in 2019. Unfortunately, the spin-off, starring Chris Hemsworth, was met with a lukewarm reception from critics and audiences alike. What do you like most about Men in Black?